Why did Christopher Nolan, a director known for pushing technical boundaries, refuse to use digital ships and planes in Dunkirk? War movies have always aimed to put audiences right in the middle of chaos, to make them feel the roar of engines, the weight of history, and the sheer unpredictability of battle. But in today's Hollywood, where digital effects dominate almost everything, war films often rely heavily on CGI to recreate large-scale battles, fleets of ships, and squadrons of planes. This raises a crucial question. If CGI can make anything possible, CGI in war movies. CGI is everywhere in modern war movies. From the flaming battleships of Pearl Harbor to the digital dogfights in Midway, filmmakers have embraced computer-generated imagery as their go-to tool for recreating history. And why not? CGI is cheaper, safer, and far more flexible than hauling vintage planes out of museums or sinking real ships. Need 1,000 soldiers charging across a battlefield? Just copy-paste a few extras. Want to blow up a bridge? No need for dynamite, just animate it. For studios, it's a no-brainer. But here's the catch. While CGI can create jaw-dropping visuals, it often leaves audiences feeling empty. Think about it. When was the last time a CGI explosion made your heart race? Or a digital plane crash gave you that gut punch feeling of dread? There's a reason for that. CGI lacks weight. It lacks grit. It lacks the messy, unpredictable chaos of real life. And in war films, where the stakes are life and death, that missing rawness can turn what should be a visceral experience into something that feels more like a video game. Take Midway, 2019, for example. The film tried to recreate the iconic World War II naval battle with a flood of digital effects. Fighter planes zipped across the screen in perfectly choreographed loops. Explosions bloomed like fireworks, and ships sank in a symphony of pixels. But critics and audiences agreed. Something felt off. The planes looked too clean, the water too glossy, and the explosions too polite. It was like watching a polished reenactment, not a life-or-death struggle. Compare that to Saving Private Ryan, 1998, which used minimal CGI and instead relied on practical effects, real pyrotechnics, real Omaha beach sets, real actors coated in dirt and fake blood. Decades later, that film's opening battle scene still feels like a punch to the gut. Why? Because it's real. This isn't to say CGI is bad. It's an incredible tool. Without it, we'd never have seen the D-Day landings full scale in Saving Private Ryan's wide shots, or the surreal dreamscapes of Inception. But when overused, CGI can suck the soul out of a film. Actors end up staring at green screens, pretending to dodge explosions that'll be added months later. Directors lose the spontaneity of filming in real environments, the way sunlight hits an actor's face at golden hour, or how wind whips sand across a beach. Worst of all, audiences notice. We might not consciously think that explosion looks fake, but subconsciously, we feel disconnected. And here's the irony. CGI was supposed to make films more realistic. In the early 2000s, filmmakers hailed it as the future. Remember the hype around 300, 2006? Its hyper-stylized, CGI-heavy battle scenes were groundbreaking. But fast forward to today, and audiences are growing tired of the CGI look. We've seen too many superheroes smashing through digital cities, too many armies of clones, too many explosions that lack the smoky, jagged edges of real fire. It's not that CGI is failing, it's just that we've become numb to its tricks. War movies, in particular, suffer when they rely too heavily on CGI. These films are meant to honor real sacrifices, real heroism, and real horror. But when everything on screen is digital, that connection to reality frays. Imagine watching a scene where soldiers charge across a battlefield, but the dirt beneath their feet doesn't kick up, the smoke doesn't sting their eyes, and the bullets whizzing past are just animated streaks. The actors might as well be in a studio, shouting at tennis balls on sticks. This is where Dunkirk breaks the mold. Nolan didn't just avoid CGI, he actively fought against it. He used real Spitfires, real ships, and real IMAX cameras bolted to real planes. He tossed actors into freezing water, set fire to actual oil slicks, and filmed on the same beaches where the evacuation happened. Was it more expensive? Absolutely. More dangerous? No doubt. But the result is a film that doesn't just show you war, it makes you feel it. So why aren't more filmmakers following Nolan's lead? Why has CGI become the default, even when it risks stripping stories of their humanity? The answer lies in a mix of convenience, cost, and fear. CGI is safe, it's controllable. It lets directors fix mistakes in post-production and avoid the headaches of coordinating real stunts. But, as Dunkirk proves, sometimes the headaches are worth it. Because when you see Tom Hardy's Spitfire skimming the waves or a ship capsizing in real time, you're not just watching a movie, you're living it. And that raises another question. In a world where CGI can create anything, why settle for almost real? Christopher Nolan doesn't just make movies, he builds worlds. And he builds them the old-fashioned way, with sweat, steel, and a stubborn refusal to take shortcuts. If you've ever watched Inception and wondered how they pulled off that hallway fight scene where everything spins, here's the secret. They actually built a rotating hallway. No green screens, no digital trickery, just a massive spinning set that threw actors around like rag dolls. That's Nolan in a nutshell. He'd rather wrestle with real physics than click a mouse. Why? Because for Nolan, filmmaking isn't just about what you see, it's about what you feel. He believes that when actors touch real things, breathe real air, and react to real chaos, their performances carry a weight that CGI can't replicate. This philosophy isn't new for Nolan. In The Dark Knight, he flipped an 18-wheeler truck for real, because he wanted the audience to feel the crunch of metal and the gasp of disbelief. In Interstellar, he planted acres of real cornfields and built a spaceship cockpit that rattled and shook like the real deal. For him, practical effects aren't a gimmick. They're a lifeline to the audience's emotions. But Dunkirk took this obsession to a whole new level. Real planes, Spitfires, gimbals, and G-forces. Let's talk about the Spitfires. These iconic World War II fighter planes aren't just props in Dunkirk, they're characters. Their engines scream, their wings shudder, and when Tom Hardy's character banks sharply to dodge enemy fire, you feel it in your bones. That's because Nolan didn't just film model planes or animate dogfights. He used real Spitfires, the same ones that soared over Europe in the 1940s. Only a handful of airworthy Spitfires exist today, and Nolan got his hands on 3 of them. These weren't museum pieces. They were flown by stunt pilots who trained for months to pull off daring maneuvers. Cameras were bolted to the wings, the tail, and even the cockpit, capturing every jolt and tremor. But here's the kicker. Hardy wasn't just sitting in a fake cockpit against a green screen. The production team built a full-scale Spitfire replica, mounted it on a hydraulic gimbal, and hung it 30 feet in the air. This rig could spin 360 degrees, tilt sideways, and dive, mimicking the violent motions of aerial combat. Imagine being strapped into that thing for hours, the G-forces pressing your body into the seat, the world flipping upside down, the wind roaring past fake glass. Hardy didn't have to act like a pilot pushed to his limits, he was living it. Even the sound design was rooted in reality. Nolan recorded the actual Spitfire engines and used those recordings instead of digital sound effects. When you hear a plane dive in Dunkirk, that's not a studio mix. It's the real, throaty growl of a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. Real ships. Now, let's dive into the water. One of Dunkirk's most heart-stopping scenes involves a group of soldiers trapped in a sinking ship. Water bursts through bullet holes, the floor tilts violently, and men scramble to escape. In most films, this would be a CGI ship in a digital ocean. Not here. Nolan's team sank a real ship off the coast of the Netherlands. They took a vintage trawler, drilled holes in its hull, and let the North Sea do the rest. Cameras rolled as the ship groaned, listed, and plunged underwater. Actors were inside during the sinking, fighting real currents and gasping for air. So why go through all this trouble? Why spend months hunting down Spitfires, risk sinking ships, or strand actors on a freezing beach? Because Nolan wanted Dunkirk to feel less like a movie and more like a memory. When you watch Tom Hardy's Spitfire glide silently over the beach out of fuel, seconds from crashing, the tension isn't manufactured, it's earned. That plane is real. The beach below is real. The silence is real. You're not watching a scene, you're holding your breath alongside the soldiers on the ground. Same with the oil fire scene. Instead of animating flames, Nolan's team set fire to actual diesel on water. The result? A nightmare of black smoke and primal terror. Actors weren't reacting to CGI, they were dodging real heat and choking on real fumes. Even the lack of CGI crowds mattered. While most war films use digital soldiers to fill beaches, Nolan hired 1,000 extras. When the camera pans across the beach, you see individual faces, exhausted, hopeful, human. It's messy, imperfect, and alive. In the end, Dunkirk's practical effects weren't just about nostalgia or stubbornness, they were about trust. Trust that real light looks better than digital composites. Trust that actors thrive when given something tangible to react to. Trust that audiences can tell the difference between pixels and passion. When Hardy's Spitfire finally touches down on the beach, engines silent and wings battered, it's not just a plane landing, it's a sigh of relief. You feel the weight of metal, the crunch of wheels on sand, the stillness after chaos. That's something no computer can fake. Nolan's message is clear. In a world where we can create anything, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe the real thing, flaws and all, is worth the fight. After all, why settle for almost when you can have real? So why put yourself through all this? Because when you watch Dunkirk, you don't just see the story, you live it. Take the aerial dogfights. When Tom Hardy's Spitfire banks sharply, the horizon tilting violently behind him, your stomach drops because the camera's actually moving. No digital trickery, no fake motion blur, just raw, unfiltered physics. You feel every dip and dive because the camera felt it too. Or the beach scenes. Those 1,000 extras weren't just background noise. You see the exhaustion in their slumped shoulders, the dirt under their nails, the way they instinctively huddle when a plane roars overhead. CGI crowds move in patterns. Real people shuffle. They yawn. They trip. They feel human. Nolan's team recorded everything on location. The creak of ship hulls, the crunch of boots on sand, the deafening silence of a pilot gliding without fuel. When you watch Hardy's plane skim the waves, engine dead, the only sound is the wind. No score, no fake engine noise, just dread. It's haunting because it's real. Even the imperfections worked in the film's favor. When a gust of wind blows sand into a soldier's face, he doesn't act annoyed. He is annoyed. When a ship deck tilts unexpectedly, the actor's panic isn't rehearsed, it's genuine. Audiences noticed. Veterans of Dunkirk praised its accuracy, not just of uniforms or ships, but of the feeling, the desperation, the claustrophobia, the fragile hope. And let's not forget the actors. When Fionn Whitehead clings to a sinking ship, gasping for air, that's not CGI water, it's the North Sea, cold enough to steal your breath. When Harry Styles runs across the beach, that's real sand kicking up, real wind biting his face. So here's the thing. Dunkirk isn't just a movie, it's a rebellion. In a world where filmmakers can conjure anything with a laptop, Nolan dared to ask, what if we didn't? Sure, CGI has its place. It can build dragons, resurrect dinosaurs, or send superheroes soaring. But war films aren't fantasy. They're about real people in real moments of terror and courage. And when you replace reality with pixels, you risk losing the soul of the story. Dunkirk proves that practical effects aren't just a nostalgia trip. They're a lifeline to actors, to audiences, and to the truth. When you see a real Spitfire dive, a real ship sink, or a real crowd of extras huddled on a beach, you're not just watching a scene. You're sharing an experience. Nolan's gamble paid off. The film won 3 Oscars, grossed over $500 million, and redefined what a war movie could be. But more importantly, it reminded Hollywood that sometimes the old ways are better, that a gust of wind, a rusty bolt, or a shivering extra can do what a room full of computers can't: make us feel. So what do you think about this? Let us know in the comments section below, and make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.